So, this started when my parents went to buy a new car from their favorite Dodge dealership. The dealership had recently changed hands, but all the salespeople, for the most part, were still there. They got all set up to buy the new car, had a fantastic deal on the table, asked to drive the car for the evening, left their car that they were going to trade in as collateral. Well, they get back the next day and the deal had totally changed. The dealer said something about new deals that day changing the previous deal, so they couldn't honor it. My dad was pissed. He stormed out of there screaming and cursing. Fast forward a few years to me and my baby daddy looking for a new car for him. My dad warns us not to go to a redacted dealer. They are scam artists and will not honor their word. Unfortunately, in my town this guy owns just about every major dealership in a 30-mile radius and all the biggest brands. So, baby daddy wants a Honda. So we just suck it up and drive to the nearest one, which, unfortunately, is a redacted dealer. Things go well at first. The guy is friendly. He lets us test drive, shows us all the cool features. We finally settle on one with upgraded features that's like $26k, but it's a holiday sale, so it's down to $22k. We tell them we want to trade in minus and Duke, which is valued at $11k, but I still owe $10k. That's where things go downhill. The first offer they have the audacity to only offer $7k. I'm like, hard pass. Goodbye. But they are like, wait. What if we pay off your car? Do we have a deal then? And the sales dude sticks out his hand like that will seal the deal. I refuse to shake it, but accepted to see what they come up with. He comes back having raised the trade into $10k, but he also raised the price of the car to the original price, so we weren't saving any money in the end. When I pointed that out he was like, what? No way. Like I was stupid or something. So we left. BC, it was some shady business practices. If he had just been honest and upfront with me, we probably would have bought that car. So we did a little research and tried to find a Honda dealership that wasn't a redacted dealer. We found one over an hour away that on Google just said Honda cars of suburb in another state. I do live relatively close to a state line in the USA. When we got there, lo and behold, there's redacted all over the windows and walls. I wanted to leave immediately, but baby daddy didn't want to have wasted the gas, not to mention the babysitter time for our infant daughter, so we stayed. The first thing I said to the sales guy was, is this really a redacted dealership? It doesn't say that anywhere on Google. He was like, oh yeah, sorry, anyway, what can I do for you all? So I said, we are here to buy a car. This car. I described the car we picked out last time. Any color but red. We are trading in my Duke. Won't take less than what I owe on it. So they come at us with the $26k price tag. And I'm like, WTF, the other dealer did $22k. And they said nope. So I said fine, buy. But baby daddy said no, let's just buy it. So we did. We get to the room with the finance guy and my dad always taught me to make them throw in gap insurance before I sign anything. So I say, okay fine, we will take this deal if you throw in gap insurance. And I didn't even get the word insurance out to my mouth before this creepy, perfectly white-toothed douchebag finance guy literally sticks his hand in my face and says we don't do that in a loud booming voice. As a woman, I was terrified, but I still managed to squeak out something along the lines of that's a lie. Like, honestly, what kind of car dealership doesn't offer gap insurance? Then he goes, man, don't question my integrity. At that point I just stopped. Well, since baby daddy was the one buying the car, I just shut up, let him sign his life away, except I wouldn't let him buy any add-on packages from that douchebag, and got up and left when he was done. They kept my car, and we drove home in his new one. A couple days later they paid off my Duke. Thanks for the credit score boost. But then they started blowing up our phones. They started sending letters every day. Apparently, one of the things baby daddy signed was a right to buy the Duke. But he didn't have the rights to sell that car. I did. They need me to sign BC without my signature. They don't have my permission to sell my car. Technically, because I didn't sign that paper, the car is still mine. Their calls and letters have been begging me to come back down to sign, or to go out of my way on one of my days off, or on a lunch break, to find and pay a notary for their screw up. Yeah, no, I don't think so. So now they have a car they put 10k into that they needed to sell fast. BC the value just keeps dropping. Soon it will be worth less than they paid for it. And it will just sit there forever because redacted is nothing but a building full of rude jerks. First, I'm going to say that I take no pleasure in being the reason someone loses their job, but I also won't lie in saying that there weren't personal motivations that fueled actions taken professionally. I worked at a YMCA as a lifeguard for about a year and a half. The management team throughout that time was largely the same and also largely incompetent, which starts at the top. The chain of command was my boss, the aquatics director, and a team of 9 or so head guards that had a little turnover during my employment there, but not too much. The head guards were mainly aged 17 to 20. I joined the staff as a 17-year-old joining a lifeguard team of mainly 15 to 16-year-olds. Because of the age structure here, I had aspirations and honestly expectations of eventually being a head guard. I was young and had ambitions to be in a leadership position, even though it's an entry-level job and recreation hospitality healthcare we're not in my career plans. 3 MOs in. Some head guard turnover hit all at once for whatever reason. 3 spots opened. I applied, felt I had a good shot, interviewed well, had my employee review a couple weeks prior, and got top marks everywhere plus a raise. I wouldn't make the cut. 3 girls applied and got it over me, a guy. I didn't think much of this at the time, but that's a detail that will matter later. 01. Shortly after this, I felt like I started being targeted by head guard audits, meaning they basically test your life-saving skills by throwing a dummy in the water and you have to get in and do your thing. It's not hard, just a hassle. Anyway, I got audited 4 times in a month. It's unusual for some people to be audited once in 4 months. The ringleader behind these audits was a new head guard who was rumored to be upset that I tried to apply for a position that was hers to begin with. She would later admit that these audits were a power trip as a new figure of authority and had little to do with me, but I still to this day suspect otherwise. 6 MOs in. I'm 18 now, and 1 head guard spot opens up as one of the older ones went to college. One of my best friends there, a girl, edged me out for it. I'm happy for her, but I was surprised by the decision. I'm not going into detail here, but take my word that her leadership experience pales in comparison to mine. 02. 10 MOs in. By now, I'm one of the more tenured employees here because there's a good amount of turnover with just the normal lifeguards. It also isn't unreasonable for me to feel as though I'm well liked among my co-workers because I'm friends with a lot of them at this point and we hang outside of work and such. I'm not saying this to sound big-headed, it's just more context into the situation, I guess. 2 head guard spots open up and I apply along with 2 other girls, one of which is 2 years younger than me and had no leadership experience to speak of. I don't need to tell you what happened next. 03. At this point, I'm just feeling insulted. Snubbed 3 times, 2 of those times being suspect. I talk to the aquatics director, who makes the calls. She said I need to work on leadership. Ignoring my resume, I'm one of the most vocal people on staff when it comes to taking care of coworkers' needs and getting stuff done. I take her ridiculous feedback and run with it, since I think there's no way I get snubbed next time, and I hold on a bit while longer since I hear rumors 2 more head guards will be stepping down in a few months. I genuinely like this job and a select amount of the people I work with. That being said, I start searching for a new job after this. 12 MOs in. I'm coming up on a year here. As rumored, 2 head guards stepped down at this time. I quote that because they retained their title, but would not be on the schedule for over 3 months. I take notice, but don't care much, since I have other stuff in my life to worry about at this time. At the end of this month, a head guard and someone who is heavily favored by the boss is fired for an offense that's not relevant to this post. 15 MOs in. The 2 head guards from the last bit officially stepped down after 3 months of not being on the schedule. 3 positions open. 2 weeks after that, there's still no word about head guard applications. She usually posts them instantly. I'm thinking I've been here about a year and a half, and am now the third most tenured employee, including HG's, so I talked to her about it, and put my name in the hat without her solicitation. I hear on good authority that I'm the only person that would have been interested in the first place. 2 days later an announcement is made that the positions won't be filled 04. I'm floored by this. I don't say a word about it though, and ramp up my job search. I don't need to say that I'm getting really frustrated at the lack of advancement opportunity here when everyone else around me seems to be getting promoted. 16 MOs in, I find the job more in tune with my career aspirations with better pay and advancement opportunities. I turn in my 2 weeks. I remain professional. A week before my last day, the boss's old golden girl tells me that I got snubbed each time because I was a guy and the boss wanted to give the girls on staff more promotion opportunities than guys. Let me be clear when I say that I'm okay with equal opportunity and stuff, but this was a terrible way to go about it. Boss essentially took quantity over quality here. This really rubbed me the wrong way. I worked very hard for this department. I love my co-workers, but maybe 13 of the head guards at this time were more qualified for the job than I was. I request an exit interview with my boss because I'd like to talk about why I got snubbed 4 times for a promotion. Denied. She doesn't want to talk to me. So, I go above. I arrange an exit interview with her superiors, which will turn into a tell-all session after my last shift. This is where the professional actions fueled by personal motivations come in. There were legitimate concerns with the way she was running the pool, and they are as follows. Chemicals were never good, but we were ordered to keep pool open. We ran a splash pad during the summer, and the electrical panel to control it was underground. The panel was exposed, and after a rain, whichever guard was unlucky enough to turn the system on would get zapped. Boss was terrible at conflict resolution, and would let high school drama take over the workforce like a refine wildfire. Boss crapped the bed when handling another employee incident that's a post for another time. General unhappiness among employees. How all that stuff above went unreported before, I have no idea. I think her superiors are just as incompetent as she is, because they had no idea anything was even wrong. Anyway, I think it'd be worth adding that I probably would just left for my new job if I specifically didn't have an issue with my boss. The concerns I shared were more than valid, but my reason for sharing them were personal. I walk out with my head held high. 2 months later, after an investigation into the aquatics department, boss is fired. After I gave that exit interview, her superiors talked to several tenured members in the department and they all turned on her. I was worried that her superiors would take her side and tip her off that I reported her, and as a result a reference from my past year and a half of employment would be ruined, but that was no longer a concern. Yes, she is still a reference, but listed with her company phone and email, so it's a dead end. Can just plead ignorance there. Anyway, about a year after this all happened, I'm happy as hell at a new job, where I feel valued. Her successor has really turned the aquatics department around at this point, and my friends who remain there are happy. I even considered coming back because for a bit, but then remembered that my compensation now was so much better. 11. Apparently this story was too offensive for petty revenge, so here it is for y'all. This happened last year when I was doing regular commutes from Chicago to Beijing. I don't know how many of you do this flight on a regular basis, but it takes 12-14 hours depending on the winds, and the flight leaves at 1 PM, greatly limiting chances for sleep. So I go to sit in my economy plus seat to enjoy my extra 2 inches of legroom. On the aisle was an older Chinese fellow, and in the middle seat was his 5-year-old son. No big deal. I get in the window seat, and older Chinese guy disappears, and is replaced by the guy who actually had the aisle seat, who promptly passed out like $HA before feeling like P. Diddy. Well, Lil Zoo was a chatty but sheltered kid, and my seat back entertainment wasn't working. Thanks United. Then I saw his dad was hanging out in business class. What an ass. So I taught Lil Zoo some new words, including the Baby Shark song, poop, crapty crap crap, ass, and loudly belching. He also now knows how to make sounds with his armpits. So hopefully the world's crappiest job had lots of endless nights. And who got a cup of coffee with extra sugar before landing? Lil Zoo, of course. Dad is an electrician, but has a logistics company. Basically, he and his crew unloads things from ships. He doesn't give a damn about clothing. All he likes to buy, like it's coffee in the morning, is tools. No matter what's the tool for, he just need it. Anyways, I convinced him to buy a new car because he has earned it, blah blah blah. He always wanted a Jeep because he likes to go on an adventure. He's from the country, but never learned how to drive properly. We went to our nearest dealership and were told to leave as they didn't want people like us. We just were a little dirty from work, didn't even got dirty boots. We just drove to the nearest gas station, mad as hell. Occasionally, there was an old pal of my dad. Long story short, he was the son of the original owner of that Jeep dealership, but my dad didn't say anything about what happened. They just talked about electricity stuff and old times, and I was just eating. He invited my dad to his dealership and promised a nice discount if he could accept his son in our job, as my dad has connections inside the port. I was alright with that, but it was kinda bittersweet for my dad. Next week arrived, and he invited us to check on a Rubicon he had. Turns out, we were a little too early, and he wasn't there yet. Same story, we got there, a dude told us to literally F off, and another lady warned us with the police. If my dad was mad last time, he almost had a stroke this time. But we waited and waited until we saw this friend pull over to the dealership, and we did the same thing we tried last time, enter the freaking dealership. This time it was kinda worse. That salesman was angry, and that lady started yelling, but we had an angel waving at my dad from the back, and as he came closer, he noticed the show. That salesman told him that we wasted their time and didn't even looked like we had the money to rent a car. The lady told him that we tried to get inside the cars. I've never seen a person go from white to red so quickly. The owner just yelled that we were friends of the family and that nobody deserves to be threatened like we did. He also said that we cold easily bought every car they had, which is not true, but I take it as a compliment. The salesman was in pure shock. He looked like his soul just left his body, and that lady was in tears, shaking, and couldn't move. My dad's friend fired the salesman on the spot and guaranteed that his career as a salesman of any kind ended. The lady resulted to be his daughter and apologized to us and promised to give us extras on any car we bought, but later in a dinner, her mom explained that she was being abused by her partner, hence the reaction and her attitude. I'm glad she changed for good and everything went well for her. After all that, we came back the next day as this friend was too ashamed of what happened, didn't feel well, and had to close for the day. We got the Rubicon with a couple extras and a pretty good discount. He told us that he couldn't sleep that night and all he did was call his friends to warn them about this now unemployed salesman, and after that, he contacted the Ministerio de Trabajo, the entity that manages all work-related things, government stuff, Ecuador, and issued a letter about what happened. He just needed my dad's side of the story. My dad felt like he pulled the trigger on somebody's head when whoever took his explanation of the story told him all the repercussions of what happened will affect this salesman. She told him that he probably will be unemployed for a while, and if he ever tries to ask for a work advice, has gonna be double checked, and that my dad is free of pressing charges. He decided to not. It was enough. As for their friendship, they keep in touch occasionally. I was renting a condo from a guy who at first didn't seem too bad. I'm in the military, and he was flexible on when I could move in, and hours he would show me the place. I was there for about a year and had to break the contract early due to new orders in the military sending me out of the city I was in, which in the US is mandatory for all landlords' rental agency. I moved out of the place over a month ago now, and as we agreed upon, he would deduct a cleaning service and the last month's electric bill, so I get about $135 less from my security deposit. No problem. End of story. But this morning I get a text message from him saying he needs $45 more for last month's bills. I'm at work, so I see and quickly respond that we agreed to the $135 and I'm not just going to give him more. I'm busy at work mind you, and he gets back to me with screenshots of the invoice for the bills and requests the money on Venmo. About 10 minutes of me not responding. Because I'm busy he proceeds to send several text messages saying fine be that way and I should have kept the security deposit UGI blah blah blah. The one text that actually got under my skin was I can't wait until companies look your rental history up. I'm going to strike you for non-payment of last month's rent. That's going on your credit report. All these texts came in under an hour after my first response. Well, once I finally checked my phone I surprised and quickly upset. I'm not a liar and have always paid my debts. So I take my lunch break to send screenshots to the condominium board property agency to report him for harassment. And the woman who was working is amazing. She was disgusted with his attitude and we talk about my stay at the residence. I mentioned the floors were warped and in the kitchenes was pretty bad in particular. So this is her idea really, but she then emails me the city laws on landlord-tenant relations and building code. So far I have filed 2 different complaints with the city, one on him as a landlord and human being, and being I'm already out of the area, don't know if it'll go anywhere. That second report is now going to a city inspector to survey the condo on keeping up proper flooring, which to be honest I should reported to someone while I was there, but I'm a busy easygoing guy who didn't want to take the time to start a formal inquiry and have to possibly move out for repairs. He in all likelihood will have to replace a good amount of floor space and spend way more money. If someone owes you $45, at least give them a little while to get you the money. It may save you more than just what's owed. Thank you for watching. Slap that like button and comment your opinion on these stories below. I'm waiting. Write that comment. Seriously. Have you written it yet? If you don't comment, you make a bunny cry somewhere. You're not that kind of person. I know. Anyways, peace out and catch you tomorrow.